Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Three Live Canes. As always, I am Chris. That's Bill. Soon down there is me, a guy named Steve-O, here to talk to you guys about another week of Miami Hurricanes football. This time, you see it there at the top, and for me, it's like over there. It says it's rivalry week again for the Canes. I mean, it's become a Groundhog Day at this point, and hopefully the result is the same. Miami takes on Florida State, one of their arch rivals this weekend. Another primetime game for the Canes. Who knows what happens when you're a top 3 team in the country? They put you on primetime a lot. Hopefully it works out well. But before we get to talking about that, Bill, how we doing tonight?
Big chillin'. It's a huge week for the Canes on multiple different levels, and we'll get into that. But what an opportunity! This is the third primetime game for 5 out of 5, which is pretty incredible.
Is it? What time was USF? 4:30 or something weird?
Yeah.
I'm talking like national. It got delayed. Yeah, that's right. The CW is national. What are you talking about?
You know what I mean.
I'm counting.
Now we're not competing with Dawson's Creek this week.
with the delay and the CW aspect, I'm counting it prime time. But anyway. It's FSU week, and you know how that goes when it comes to being a Miami Hurricanes fan. You throw out the history, you get the history out there, you have the rivalry out there, you have the great moments out there, you got the big hits and the interceptions and all those kinds of things. You have all those things out there that make this rivalry truly special, and one of the best in college football. I know you can say what you want about Miami and Notre Dame, Miami and Florida, but Miami and Florida State has certainly produced its share of significant moments for the Hurricanes to make it feel very one-sided, even though if you look at like the game by game, week or season by season, it's not so much. But definitely something that Miami opportunity for the Canes to do something really special here. You get this win, you continue on this roll, you have another bye week, and then it's second half of the season time, and then seeing what Miami's able to do the rest of the way. So you go 6-0, you beat Notre Dame, Florida, and Florida State in those 6 games. Each of them, if not ranked near ranking or just a week before a ranked team, whatever it was. Certainly something to talk about. So we'll talk about all that. Miami also released interesting timing to do it this week, but new uniforms that they're going to go live with against Stanford in a couple of weeks. We'll talk a little bit about that and how ugly they are. But a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting stuff to talk about today. Thank you guys for joining us here on a Wednesday night to talk about Miami Hurricanes football, especially on this of all most glorious weeks. This is Three Live Canes.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska.
He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Irvin's got it. Irvin's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, and he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.
Hard dog. Don't ask me for more. Hell no. Devin Hester up to the races. That's what they needed.
That's Ricks going up for Thorpe, and it's intercepted near midfield. Sean Taylor's got another one.
Who else?
Who else but us? Who else but the Canes here on a Wednesday night to talk about Miami Hurricanes football? Just thinking about a game like this, Bill, it's every opportunity we get to see a Miami Florida State game, it starts to go back to the histories. And you think about all those really big moments and kind of throw it out to the chat too. But I know the first ones that come to mind for me. And like if I asked you what Miami Florida State game was at the very top of your list, I know what the answer would be because it's the answer that I would fully expect, and that's going to be the rain game with Sean Taylor. But like, are there any other games that stand out for you, Miami, Florida State, where like that when this week hits, it's like I think of this one. Besides like the obvious, but I mean, if you want to mention one of those, feel free.
Yeah, I think the sweet spot for us is in that 99, 2000, 2003-ish range. But for me, it's 02. You had everything. You had a comeback. You had the Willis screen. You have wide left. I think that game in and of itself, encapsulates a lot of what this rivalry is about. And that historic tradition that accompanies that.
Yeah, right. It was almost like playing the greatest hits of all the great games in the rivalry that the stuff that got us to that point and made people care so much. And a lot of the reason people care so much about Miami Hurricanes football is the existence of Florida State and having those games that were on the national stage that ended in such significant ways that people talk about the endings for years and years after. And whether it was the wide lefts, the wide rights, whether it was the Frank Gore last second touchdowns or the Sean Taylor returning it and the pouring touchdown pick six in the pouring rain, like whatever it was, definitely those moments there, the Brevin Jordans of the world, like the more recent additions to the rivalry history too. So it's funny to think about it because I know that like it's hate week and there's a lot of that. It's just cool to think that how college football has risen, especially in the state of Florida, is because of these significant rivalries that have kind of colored the tradition of college football a little bit differently since the mid 1980s. But anyway, it's enough like waxing poetic about this because we have an actual football game to play, and that's with Miami sitting number 3 in the country by most accounts, including the AP poll, against Florida State, a Florida State team that is now reeling after a loss to Virginia. We had a Florida State fan on last week, and I don't see him right now in the chat.
He's not coming back.
I don't know if I missed him, but was talking a very big game last week before Virginia. Seemingly, he, like the rest of the people involved with Florida State football, forgot they actually had a game before they played Miami, and things didn't go exactly well. It went into overtime, which, you know, you get overtime in college football. It's, you know, anything can happen. In this case, Florida State almost scored to tie the game, but just a bit outside and wasn't quite enough. And so Florida State got knocked off. And then perhaps the most dangerous field storming in the history of college football occurred, where there just like was a wave of humanity, a tsunami of co-eds just annihilating everybody out there on the field. But what's your thoughts on Florida State losing that one to Virginia? Did you see anything that you think might continue its way into this week and affect at all on the Miami Florida State game this week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was a surprise. Maybe, you know, a bit unexpected for, you know, some. But that's life in the ACC, right? We've experienced that for, you know, however many years now. We start to feel good about our squad. Maybe start talking a little bit, and then you know, some random ACC team get you, whether it's a Virginia, Georgia Tech, you know, an NC State, one of those. So in terms of the actual game itself, you know, Florida State's offense, I think, you know, kind of did what they do. You know, they did have a couple turnovers, but, you know, they put up points. You know, they did their misdirection, eye candy stuff. But I think what's kind of stood out was just the defensive, we'll call it just the front seven. You know, Virginia was able to kind of have their way a little bit, which is a very fortuitous sign for us. You know, watching, you know, Virginia kind of push them around a little bit. You know, I think FSU will stack the box heavily. You know, I think we'll see a lot of 7-8 man boxes for them to not just get, you know, bulldozed, kind of like what Florida went through. And I think they'll challenge back to make plays downfield. But you know, you get caught napping in the ACC, you're gonna take a loss. And you know, the way the conference is structured now, you know, you're pretty much allowed one loss. If you lose another one, you know, your odds of making that ACC title game are probably very slim, and you're going to be relying on some crazy tiebreakers to get an SO2 loss team.
Yeah, it's funny. This is where we're back to all of the change in college football, yet we're back to an ACC team really can't afford to get that second loss and can have any control over their destiny. And, you know, that's the way it goes these days. But because with the guarantee of 2 and unlikely in many cases to get 3, even Miami, like if Miami loses 2 poorly placed games, then it might not be even sitting at number 3. We saw that goes 2 poorly placed games. They'll drop them right out of there. They don't care unless they believe that Miami can generate enough money in primetime games. So probably important for there to be good viewership this weekend because then maybe that'll be enough to give us the bump. But yeah, it's just one of those things where we've seen it. We've seen it firsthand, certainly over the years. Probably more so than like when Florida State is really like doing well and playing good football. they don't slip up as much in ACC play, but Miami has historically, had those landmines in ACC play where it's like, okay, we're rolling along and all of a sudden Pitt or all of a sudden Louisville or God forbid Georgia Tech like pops up on the schedule. Like we do that all the time. Florida State, not so much. So to see that them start to roll and then have this slip up is kind of, funny as they're heading into probably the most important week of their season too. If Florida State is able to win this game. So especially now that the doubters are starting to creep back in, because they certainly can't let what happened last year happen again to any degree. So if they do rip off 2 losses in a row here, that conversation becomes very, very different around Tallahassee, as we were seeing. But obviously, it's a long way away from that. We'll get into the ins and outs of it. We'll talk about some positives, negatives, and those kinds of things. Johnny Lagoon is back, has a question. He says, question guys, who would win head-to-head, Florida State or Florida? Hard to give a really complete answer until we see them and against Miami. Then we have that as a litmus test. But I don't think Florida has anything to really offer in any sort of game at this point. I think they're just shut down. I think the studio is closed. They're not making any fresh bread. They're just hanging on to a couple of days of old stale bread, hoping that nobody notices. So I would go Florida State, but I don't know. Bill, what are your thoughts?
I think Florida State by double digits. They can score. Even with kind of the trickery. Florida cannot, as we saw against USF, against us. I think, we'll see if, Lagway all of a sudden learns how to play the quarterback position. That's kind of the X factor, but, it's not looking good. Florida's got to play Texas on Saturday. Lagway versus Arch in the most overrated quarterback of all time bowl. So that should be fun to watch before our game. But I would take FSU like 10 plus.
Yeah, and talent's not a question. Honestly, for either team, talent's not a huge question. Like there are talented players around. It's just right now, I don't know if anyone of those high level players for Florida is putting in like the effort they need to do what they got to do. So I don't know. It just doesn't seem like there's any sort of positivity in games at the moment. I mean, we'll see what happens. Go.
I mean, Florida can play defense a little bit, but Florida's offense, I think, is way worse than Florida State's defense. So I think, kind of, what we're facing against, right? All this just eye candy option, mobile quarterback. It's difficult to defend, especially, we've struggled with in the past. It's, their offense isn't all that dissimilar than, what kind of Georgia Tech does a little bit. But I think they might have a little bit more horses, in terms of playmakers around that quarterback.
Yeah. So we'll see what that mean. That's like you said, to get to watch the last week of the season, how that plays out. But let's lock in now on Miami and Florida, Florida State, and see like where the advantages lie for Miami and then where they may fall for Florida State. And I think it makes sense to kind of talk about positions, how those go before we get into like ours versus theirs in terms of offense, defense, and all that. And a lot of talk's going to be centered around the quarterback position, obviously, with Carson Beck and Castellanos, who, I know that now Castellanos has kind of been seen by some in this kind of darling fashion, but he took a lot of heat. Carson Beck took a lot of heat, and both of these guys have clearly outshined the narrative that was out there about them over the course of the summer before they got into play. So Castellanos has proven himself to be a good enough fit for Gus Malzahn. Malzahn, we've seen his shtick before. We see that sometimes it works well, and then eventually it kind of outstays its welcome. They did put up points against Virginia, so it's not like they got shut out. But is there some doubt now about whether or not they can continue to have that success? Whereas with Carson Beck, he's coming off probably his worst game as a Cane against Florida. But again, the driving rainstorm aspect of it, which Steve-O, eloquently put last week, is a fair enough explanation. So 2 somewhat reclamation projects here by these 2 Florida schools. Who do you think has the advantage going into this one, Bill?
Yeah, the advantage, I would give Carson back because he's not going up against Ruben Bain and Keem Messador and the rest of them. But as much as we made fun of Castellanos and and all that came with him and the transfer and the talking, he is a very good scheme fit for that offense. And was he ideal for a Bill O'Brien offense? Probably not. But I just kind of think, Castellanos is just one of those guys where you can pretty much do everything right. You can fill all the run fits, you can cover, you can get pressure, and yet he can still, end up 30 yards downfield because he is that athletic. So I do expect, Carson Beck to bounce back. So I would give us the slight edge just because, what defenses they're going up against.
Yeah, and we've had trouble with guys like that before, that extending the play, turning third and longs into first downs, and all of a sudden your defense, who's playing their butts off and doing really well and getting, stops or negative plays on first and second down, gives up a first down because effectively everyone did their job in the secondary, and a guy just found one tiny seam and got 13. Needed 12 kind of a deal. So we've seen that happen before to Miami with some of these teams, especially historically. So that's going to be the one real significant question. Which quarterback is going to be able to make those plays? Like, is Carson, and without the bad mistake, is Carson Beck going to be able to complete some of these deep balls, like, which we haven't really seen so far? Are we going to get some of these shot plays, some of the blurs, as Stevo likes to put it? Like maybe if we do, then there we go. Or is Castellanos going to get some of these makeshift backyard football kind of plays where he breaks away for 35, 40 yards in a way that, we're holding them, bang, 30, 40 yards, put them in field goal range, put them in range of a touchdown, they score out of nowhere. We saw with the Florida game where Miami let them hang around. We saw it Notre Dame game, Miami let them hang around. We didn't kill them when we could have, and then all of a sudden we're stressing it until the very last minute. Not something we necessarily want to see in a game like this. Johnny Lagoon coming back. He says, do you think this is the game that one of these three will break out? And he mentions JoJo, Lofton, or Lyle.
I think out of those three, just Lofton based on probably touches and playing time. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Lofton to make some plays. I fully expect Florida State to load up the box and that play action to the flat and some of those shorter routes where he can do a catch and run will be there. I don't really think FSU's linebackers are anything special. So it's there, but who knows if JoJo and Lyle are even going to get a snap. We've been saying that for 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, who knows, maybe I don't know. you don't know what even if they're going to suit up. It's just, that's kind of the life as a Miami Hurricane under Mario Cristobal with the injury news.
Keep it as close to the vest as possible. I'd agree that it would be Lofton. If the way Lofton plays and what Carson Beck has seemingly liked to do for us, it's that, you call it dink and dunk, whatever you want to call it. Like, he's going to try to control the ball, complete those passes 5 to 10, get some yak yardage. And that's why I think Tony and he work it so well together, because Tony's a guy who likes to catch the ball and then make moves after it versus, run the deeper routes. And CJ Daniels, good player, can be a physical jump ball guy, that kind of stuff. Had not necessarily a deep threat. Lofton, we know what he is. And our running game, I think most of our offense is designed to be successful in that short space in the short areas. And then hopefully you just chip away, hit him with a big play. Lyle is a big play guy. Do I think this is the week where we're like, okay, now we're going to really put it on your shoulders? Probably not. Much more likely that Marty Brown and Mark Fletcher are the bell cows there, specifically Fletcher. No reason not to be with how good he's been and how good the line has been blocking for those guys. Same thing with the receiving group. Like, we know what we get from the receiving group pretty consistently. So JoJo might be able to add something to it. But if we have Tony, Daniels, and hopefully Lofton doing their part, then we're good. We're doing what we need to do to move the ball. Now, obviously, that's based upon what we've seen, and we have a bye week before this game. So maybe this is when Shannon Dawson has decided to up the ante a little bit. And attack downfield. Like Steve-O mentioned last week, that was his one problem. Like, why not try to figure a way to get the ball downfield and see what we can do. And that's where backing up just kind of commented on that. We don't have the explosive quality in our offense to be falling behind multiple possessions. Yeah, do I think there's possible? Yeah. Do I think Carson Beck has thrown those balls and likes to throw those balls? Yeah. We just haven't shown it. We just haven't shown it to this point. So are we waiting to show it, or is it something that we just don't do and won't do? I don't know.
I mean, I think, this is the week that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Florida kind of just sat back with, two safeties. Notre Dame secondary is, another, maybe not the best defense that we thought they were going to be. But again, I fully expect Florida State to say, hey, Carson Beck and those receivers, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us deep. We're going to bring pressure. We're going to, stack the box. We're going to take away or try to take away the run game and kind of that short to intermediate game. So I hope that, Dawson has those man beaters ready. And then a guy like Marion or CJ or even, Mally down the slot can just create a big play early. And that changes the total dynamic of how you look at that offense.
Yeah, I think he'll have weapons. He'll have play calls ready to go based upon the scenario any scenario that will be presented to us. I don't think he's going to go into this Florida State game unprepared. I think he's going to go in knowing exactly what he has to do. Just like last year, we knew exactly what we needed to do to carve him up, and we were able to go and execute that. So that last year was your real killer instinct game. Whenever I think of killer instinct, I think of Steve-O, who has chosen for this rivalry week to go suns out, guns out when it comes to the t-shirt choice here, Steve-O. So an aggressive choice for a very important week of Miami football. Steve, how you doing?
I'm Big Vibe. I don't know where Bill's at. I see his name, but I don't see him.
Is he frozen over there?
I'm here.
That's crazy. I don't know what's going on with me, but I'm Big Vibing. I'm in the middle of. I was getting in. I put the hoodie on because I'm recording. I was recording a little video. I got lost track of time a little bit, and I'm ready to go. I'm full on. I got my hands on some all 22 Florida State versus UVA film, so I'm having a field day going through that, seeing exactly how they, march down the field all day on them. And I think there's a lot of things that we do well that Virginia did well against versus Florida State.
Steve, what if you could real quick, because we're talking about Miami's offense and how they could match up, and then Florida State, you compare it to Florida State. Is there anything that Virginia did specifically to shut them down that you think we could also do and take advantage of?
I love that comment. I was almost tempted to share my screen really quick regarding that.
What, Steve-O? Do it, Steve-O.
But yeah, let's do it. Where you at? Can you put that one back up?
The one from Johnny right there?
Yeah. Let me show you one example. Where is it? I think, all right, at 6:15. Let's do it. All right, let me share screen. Y'all see?
Bang.
It's starting to. Yep, there we go.
Got it.
All right, perfect. So this is a great job here from Marion, winning one-on-one, fighting through this coverage. I love this. Fighting, then getting back to the football and catching a low ball. But check CJ Daniels here at the top. Just cooks this guy on the release. There's a couple plays like this where I would not be surprised if all the fans saying, oh, we're not going deep. I get it. There's going to be some more examples on my review coming out soon. But I'm telling you, this is just a product of Carson Beck getting back into it and getting through, acclimated back. He missed pretty much all of, the off season. So, and the tail end of last year. So I think this is going to be that time where, if things start clicking, I would not be surprised if we start seeing things deep. Obviously, we had the Joshua Moore touchdown that was a little underthrown at the double move to Marion as well up the sideline. So it's trending in that right direction. UF was a freaking I didn't even know what to call it. Like, it was a hurricane for real. So I'm not really too worried about that. Still some opportunities there. I would not be surprised if this is the game where you see guys catch the football and run into the end zone deep. I know fans are waiting for it. I'm waiting for it, but the plays have been there. It's not all on Beck. There was a time where we had some pressure. There was, that Malachi Tony touchdown where he had plenty of pressure and was still able to get that ball down. So he's made his fair share of plays. This is just more about continuity of making up for those reps, not in spring. And then, the limited fall camp live reps he's probably getting, which, you got to bubble wrap guys like that.
Do you think, Bill K over here makes a comment, and that kind of I'll speak kind of around it, where he says, does he realize he had more time in the pocket? Do you think that Beck's clock kind of got sped up by playing at Georgia, where like he really wasn't getting the time, so he kind of got used to getting the ball out quicker maybe than he needs to?
There's some times where there's been a bigger play developing, and he could have maybe sat down, maybe pat it, or not pat it, but hold it for half a second and then let it go. Maybe, yeah. But there's also that aspect of that's how the offense has been so efficient, though. So yeah, it's easy to say, oh yeah, man, he holds that ball one more second, this guy's holding up, this guy's going deep, which I'm gonna have some, examples of that. However, he still gets the ball to a guy that they make plays for him, or he gets the ball with enough time so they can still have that space to go, make a play. So there's always going to be that Cam Ward held the ball so long. Sometimes it bit us, in the back, in the back end. Sometimes Carson Beck's not going to hold on to the ball as long, and it, might bite you in the back end, or, might irritate a fan just because he didn't take the big play. So it's not a problem, to be honest. It's just the style of quarterback. We knew we were going to be more efficient on offense sometimes, maybe not as explosive, but the explosive plays are there to be made. It'd be different if we were struggling to get guys open. I think we've been able to get some guys open, just haven't been able to connect it. And just, not to be on it, but look, Florida game was a crazy hurricane. Notre Dame game, it rained hard the whole game. We still made plays. The CJ one-handed catch, it looks great on TV. It was storming, bro. We've made plays, so it's just maybe get a dry game for once, and when Beck's not throwing a really heavy football with it off an elbow injury, which definitely caused that pick with Carmody, undercutting it, throwing a heavy ball late, and you've seen CJ have to wait for it. That's what happens in that heavy rain. So it's rained every game that we played. So hoping for a dry one, and maybe that could help, get some of those deep passes going. But we've been able to create some separation. I just want to see some of those, balls be landed.
And I'm perfectly content with him taking the sure completion, instead of necessarily big play hunting more often than not. Just even like the example you showed, that moved the chains. That's a first down, get it, reset. I think as he starts to trust that offensive line more, we'll start to see it too. And like I was saying earlier, I think Florida State's going to give us those opportunities because they don't want to die by 1,000 cuts.
Yep, bagging up.
Yeah.
A few other guys.
And they're not going to.
Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, no, we. Yeah, I hope I'm right too, but I think it's there. It's gonna happen whether it's this game or not. It's gonna come out eventually, just because the playmakers are there. We've seen in this review, I'm gonna show you 4 to 5 guys creating separation in one-on-one matchups throughout this review. So that's a pretty good staple. To be honest with you. And we'll move with that, but we just got to see 1 or 2 more of those big explosive plays, and it will make fans kind of forget how it's kind of been kind of vanilla at times. But again, we've been playing in hurricane weather for the entire start of the year. It looks great on TV.
Did going over the all 22 stuff, Steve? Because I know last week you kind of spoke to the idea of taking more shots, giving the kids an opportunity to get downfield and all that. Did looking at the all 22 more so settle your concerns about where the offense is and what the potential is?
We still got to see them get hit, but it's not like we haven't made plays down. It'd be different if, Mally didn't make that big explosive touchdown versus Notre Dame, or CJ didn't make that versus Bethune, but the post for a touchdown, or even versus USF, the crazy while he's getting pass interference, that's like 30 yards downfield. Marion, beautiful outside shoulder. So there's been passes, but there's been ones that stung. I know it was Emory Williams who threw it, but that post route to Ray we talked about, that was a blur. So there's been some that just haven't connected. That's like, you want to see those connect, but there's been enough to be like, okay, there's something here. It's not like we can't throw the ball past 10 yards. Even a lot of our, we're getting a lot of comebacks, curls at 15, 10, 12. Then, we're eating in that intermediate range. Marion's been really good over the middle, waiting to see maybe one of those times where Carson Beck puts that ball in front of him so he can run after it. A lot of times he's making some possession catches, so that comes with timing, especially when you're pulling on an RPO. So that's why I'm not that stressed about the offense. I think the offense is only going to get better every week, and people just got to be a little more patient with it. I want to see the big plays too, but they could happen at any moment because they're organic. I don't really think, oh my God, Coach Dawson has to scheme this guy open. There's been plenty of times where we've been able to get them open and we made those plays. So not as much as you would love to see, just because we came off the Cam Ward year and everything was the palooza downfield. But the offense is very efficient, man. We're not in a lot of third and longs. We're checking the ball down. Mark Fletcher's been great. Marty Brown's been great in the passing game because Carson Beck's taking some of those checkdowns. So it's just not as sexy as last year, but the offense is just fine.
Real quick, is this the guy from last week, B. Ryder? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's him.
It is. I give him a lot of credit because I was not expecting him to show back up, because you got to figure, like, you can't talk as much trash as he did and elevate your team to the level it did and then to lose. But I give him a lot of credit for showing back up. He didn't have to. He could have just ran away to it, but he's like, no, I have to. So I felt compelled to put his comment up on the screen, just to know that we acknowledge B. Ryder. Like, he didn't run away from your troubles and your responsibilities here.
Doesn't he owe someone a lot of money?
Oh yeah, doesn't he? Right?
Nah, he was just saying he makes like $10,000 bets, so he just lost like.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. How much did you put on it? How much did you put on it, B. Ryder?
I don't know. Get easy 10K this week and tell you. Okay.
Yeah,
I bet the odds are definitely. The odds are definitely going to promote 10K.
We're doing this for B. Ryder. Needs that money back. His house is getting foreclosed on in about a couple of weeks, so he's got to make sure he gets that money back. And mortgage ain't going to pay itself. Anyway. Oh yeah, OCF Kane fan, $10,000. Now the legal system works with this. I'm not sure what we're going under, if we're under Florida law or what, but hey, we'll see. Contact your legal team, CF Kane fan. But that's just one side of it. Like, let's flip over to the other side. Miami's offense obviously has, the potential to put up points, and the run game obviously is something that we have been able to do effectively pretty much against any opponent. On the other side of the ball, we have Tommy Castellanos, who Steve talked a little bit before he got on about, just like Carson Beck, a guy that was doubted by a lot of people nationally. When he made the decision to transfer, caught a lot of heat, and then now here he is, and he has been impressing some, and he at least has the ability to do some of those things that hurt a defense no matter what. You get a stop on first down for no gain, you get a -2 or 3 on second down, and then third down comes and he scrambles for 14 yards, and he gets the first down anyway. So just thoughts, Steve-O, on Tommy Castellanos, and then we'll go to Bill, just talking more about like what this defense compares. Our defense compares to an effect like him.
I've never thought he was trash, just because even though we say it all the time, I feel like we talked about him a couple of times, but like it was bad last year defensively, and the year before, kind of. It was historically bad, last year, but he made some plays against us that you just had to chalk up to, hey, he's an explosive athlete. Like, legit, this is not just making some guys that we are happy are out of our secondary miss. This was just like, he's just literally good. They were looking for a more consistent pocket passer for Bill O'Brien's system, so I just felt like schematically he didn't fit that offense. But that's what you come to see from a Gus Malzahn quarterback. He's a Nick Marshall type, a guy who can make very explosive plays. No play is dead with him. And he's a good deep ball thrower. Is he the best intermediate and even short route thrower? Probably not. But when it comes to the deep ball, he's a good deep ball thrower. So when you're in that power spread type of scheme and you're a big deep ball thrower, that's really good for your offense because people obviously when you're stuck in a numbers advantage because you're running your quarterback, and then guys start creeping up and he could throw it deep accurately. That's what really presents the problems with whether I'm going too high or how aggressive my safeties are when they're shooting down. Okay, hey, am I putting a nickel out there? Or am I going to go something like a big safety or a linebacker again? Like what's going to be my personnel? It's going to be tested all game long and having to be, reactive to how he's playing. But he's definitely a problem. I respect players like that. When people make plays with the ball in their hands, that's my favorite thing about football. So I respect that when it comes to him. But it's not something I can't see. I just don't see him beating us, by himself. He's going to need, guys around him to play really lights out too. He's going to need guys to get downfield and make plays in tight coverage versus RDBs. He's going to need guys to, break tackles and make plays for him outside of it. But as a player, Castellanos, he's definitely a problem. I'm not going to underrate him. So we just got to be ready.
And like this kind of guy, and Bill, I don't know if you're still there or you've lost yourself to the internet warriors, but this kind of guy, like you said, a weapon that they can utilize. It can be utilized at any time. And the ability to go off script for a lot of that stuff is always going to be out there. So is Miami able to keep him contained is the number one thing. Like I see the chat talking about spy and this and that, but can you really realistically, can you put one spy out there on a guy like this especially with the kind of speed he has and the kind of athlete he is, Steve-O? Is that even an effective strategy to say like, hey, middle linebacker, your job is to watch Castellanos? Like,
it's going to fall on a lot of people. I mean, two-way to the front of the line. He's been a QB killer so far. I'd definitely go with him. I think he's going to get a good majority of that. But you got other linebackers that can run. Wesley as well. Bobby Pruitt. This could be a time where he maybe sees some very specified snaps. Lightfoot as well is going to be covering. And then you'll see just better focus on gap integrity because he's a smaller guy, so he could slip through. A lot of those times he's slipping through. Design runs for sure, but he's off pass plays when people are dropping in coverage. He's making a lot of those explosive runs. So gap integrity is going to be huge for your rush lanes. And I'm just not as worried on the outside with Bain and Mesidor. He's going to make plays on the outside versus RD, and it's going to happen. And I'm going to be mad, but I'm going to understand that it's probability. We're going to get him a couple of times. He's going to get us a couple of times. That's the way the game goes. But I'm just not as concerned as long as our defensive tackles and our interior pass rush don't give him those slips inside. I think we have the speed to go sideline to sideline. If he does go ahead and break containment a couple of times, so be it. But I just don't think it's enough for them to sustain the offense to score with us. I think we're going to be pretty efficient scoring the ball, running it down their throats. There's a lot of things that Virginia did to them that we do very well. They were having trouble with their, tight formations. Coach Dawson loves tight formations. We do bunches. We bring, 12 sets. We keep our receivers tight, close to our tight ends. We have guys going here, blocking here, all types of things that FSU looked like they were struggling with low key. And not just looked at, showed on scoreboard, but those are things we do very well. And UVA really didn't do anything special. They were just very efficient, which makes, back to Bill's point, maybe we sacrifice some of those big plays in the name of efficiency. He'll take that. That's what UVA did, and it put up 46 points for him.
Yeah. Bill, thoughts on what Miami can do against, their team as far as like running the ball, like and utilizing the advantages we have, especially because I know you watched the Virginia game last week too.
Yeah, I mean, I think their offense has the potential to be, very explosive, but if we're playing our kind of normal bully ball, right, and we can take half a quarter away just like that, and go down and score a touchdown, and it's 7-0, and it's 7 minutes left in the first quarter. They haven't touched the ball yet. I think that's what the most likely style is going to be, right? Make them commit 7 or 8 in the box to stop Fletcher and Marty Brown. And you built this offensive line for these types of games, right? You saw a weakness. UVA ran for 220 plus. you saw that weakness. They're running true freshmen out there on the defensive line. You got to take advantage of that. So I think it very well could be very similar to Florida, where we can be watching that game and just be like, wow, we're beating the hell out of them, but it's only like 14-7 or 14-10, something like that. Right. So you rely on the offensive line, you take your shots when it makes sense, and I think you do what you can to try and keep that offense off the field.
All right. A few other comments that came through. This one popped up before, Steve-O. It was discussed in the chat quite a bit, but obviously Deuce is a threat for Florida State. He's maybe their best offensive player. Like, what do you think that it's going to look like to get him covered up?
I mean, I don't think there's one guy who's going to cover him. I mean, we rotate DBs regularly because we're 4 or 5 deep at corner. So I don't think we need to, if he lines up and it's Damari Brown on him, I'm liking that. Physical matchup. Deuce Robinson has definitely made plays downfield. Let's see if he could do that, versus us, or if it's Xavier Lucas. We have big, strong, fast corners. I would assume most of his time he's going to be shadowed over by Damari Brown, Xavier Lucas, OJ Frederick, our big guys. I would like for OJ to be on LaWayne McCoy more. He's going to be number 7. He's getting back fully healthy for FSU. Had an argument with the FSU fan that he was saying Deuce is their receiver 1. I was like, that's only because Louisy been hurt. And I was like, he's going to be Deuce option coming soon. So I'm very, they have some nice receivers. So it's going to be nice to see our DBs play them. They're going to be going downfield vertical because that's their offense. They're going to be running, and then taking big shot plays. So you can't get lulled to sleep on that island. You have to make sure you're keeping your keys, playing your technique. And I would assume that any of our big corners are going to be on him. Are they not going to put Ethan O'Connor on him? If it works out that way, it works out that way. But I'm pretty sure we'll probably just stick one of our bigger corners on him and then let Ethan and OJ get some of their more like twitchier guys, they're Squirrels, they're Luanes, and I forget the other guy's name, but yeah, so they have some more guys that are more like twitchier, those guys with some open space and route running ability, things like that. They really haven't done a great job recruiting over there, but looks like they've hit on a couple of those transfer receivers. I think Deuce is pretty good.
Yeah, when Castellanos really doesn't, I guess, know what to do or starting to feel it, he just kind of throws it in, Deuce Robinson's general direction, and it's been very effective. But, we do have, Damari, Lucas was my first thought. But I think if you kind of just rotate those two, keep them fresh, because Robinson does like to go downfield quite a bit. So I do like those matchups. We have the size and the speed to at least try and counteract what's been very successful for Florida State in that regard. They'll throw it. He'll just chunk it, right? It could be back shoulder, it could just be a jump ball. You saw Deuce get behind a DB. I think it was in that overtime where he ended up bobbling it, going out of bounds. So
you got to catch.
Actually not. Yeah, it's actually not too much of a matchup I'm concerned with, considering what we have. It's all the other stuff that goes on within that offense.
Yeah, I'm more not concerned, but I'm waiting. Is this the game where we pick this guy off a couple of times like UVA did? I mean, like, we need to make some plays on the back end. Are they going to probably play a way more physical game up front that they played versus Virginia? 100%. I completely, in my mind, think Florida State's going to bring it as much as they can. This is what the rivalry is all about. They're clearly better than they were last year, but can they bring it for 4 quarters? I do not think so. That's
ultimately the question, right? Like, do they have enough? Because Miami has shown their ability to put themselves in the driver's seat, give up a little bit of that control, but then the end ultimately finish. And that's without causing big turnovers, like big momentum changing plays. Miami's still been able to hold on effectively in each of these games, like Florida, Notre Dame. We talked about it before, how we let them get back into it and we still held on. That's without the big backbreaker for the opponent. And certainly Florida State puts themselves in positions to give up such plays. So maybe this is the play where, and like on opponent's home turf, they get that big interception, that big pick six or whatever it might be, that closes out the game in a moment where we expect it to happen. All right, but definitely a huge opportunity for Mario in a game that is going to. I know there's a lot of other tough games on the schedule, a lot of other big games on the schedule, and all that. But this is the one that's going to have the most national attention for the rest of the run that Miami has until we get to the ACC title game, and maybe including depending on who we play in that game. So if we were to make it, but as we do, we have to look back at last week. And last week we had kind of a fun prediction because there was no Miami game, so we decided to go to the other Miami football team, which debatably above college level. I mean, this was the best they've looked. The best they've looked all season, though not tremendously hard to do so considering the opponent. And obviously, like, to quote Tua, thank God for us being healthy. Well, mostly.
I ain't gonna talk about it, dog.
Mostly. But Steve, Bill, what were our predictions for that one? How did that turn out?
Oh, I didn't write it down. I remember I said like 6-3 or 9-6 or something like that.
You didn't write the scores down, Bill?
Oh, I have a pristine paper that I for my records here.
I think I was right.
I know I did say the Dolphins, though. I did say that.
I mean, yeah, we're not idiots. Come on, go with it. All right, well, that sets us up for this week, though, because we have a big game this week. I forget who won 2 weeks ago. I want to say it was me.
No, I think it was you or it was me. No,
I think I got my third. I got my third.
You were USF, Steve-O.
Okay, so yeah, I was a week before. Yeah, so it looks like you're 3-1 right now.
All right, that means old Bill is picking first again.
Yeah, that boy playing playoff football right now. He on the CFP.
Also, chat, throw your predictions in there.
I will go 27-24. Miami.
Oh, all right.
Is that what you're waiting for?
That's what I was waiting for. Yeah. Just checking.
I'm not in desperation mode where I'm going to start picking against Miami yet.
Right,
so
now I'm keeping my eyes on the chat for Bagging Up because I know Bagging Up was in that chat. I know he was out there, so I'm keeping my eyes for Bagging. See if we get that positive voodoo going. Steve-O.
I'm going to go 38-17.
Okay. Got a couple chat ones floating out there. What is the spread? Johnny Lagoons who don't even cover the spread. What is the spread?
4.5.
4.5. Oof.
It was 6.5 when it opened.
Uh-oh.
I like that.
Damn, I like 27. But I want to pick because Bill did. I'm gonna go 31. 31. No. 34.
34.
34. 34-20. 34-20. 34-20.
Locked in.
All right.
Got a nice diversity of picks here.
So yeah, Kane fan is 41-17. Vegas Kane also predicted 41-17.
Florida State guy put in his prediction in there? No, not yet.
Not yet. Johnny Lagoon 28-10. Palm Coast Kane 38-24.
No, it's prediction time. Where you at? What's his name again? Ryder? Yeah, come on, bro. That boy over here breaking down their offense.
Be wronger, am I right?
Yeah, they still lost. They still ain't scored enough points to win the game. But that is very impressive balance. Like, that is very impressive. Imagine throwing for 258 yards, rushing for 253 yards, and still losing.
Could have used a couple more.
Yeah, that's good.
Gavin Goodson's going to be in the FSU student section. Love to see it. All right.
Oh well, enjoy. Go ahead and don't switch out though. Don't be out there with a white tee out there just blending in. Like, nah, fam. I need to see you out there with that you on. Be
I'm right.
blending in out there. Make sure you got that green or that orange on, man.
Steve-O, if you go to a non-Miami game, if you go to a non-Miami football game, you're going to whatever, right? Whatever game. You wear neutral colors, just like black or white or whatever, or do you wear colors of one of the sides? You have no allegiance at all. Not
I
like
don't. If it's not my team, I don't color coordinate. And to be honest, I don't go to games that aren't Miami games, so I've never had this issue, other than going to high school games, and I'd still probably be wearing some Miami stuff, chilling. So yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask this question to. I don't go to football games. I definitely, yeah, I have a Dolphin shirt. I rocked it. I got it for my birthday. I wore it. It broke it in nicely. If we would have lost, that would have been tough. Sorry, babe. I had to get rid of it, but we won. So it's still good.
there we go.
Oh,
There's
there we
Beat
go.
Writer.
We'll put them up. Why not? This I guess first time in 3 Live Canes history we have a Rivals fan putting in prediction. Let's do it.
Are we gonna let him pick?
Hell yeah, that's the way we could talk mad-ish next week. He showed up this week. I'm proud of him. But if he show up next week, he a real one.
I mean, if he's right, then he probably wins because of the score differential aspect of it. So, but anyway, it's all right. I was gonna go Bangkok Vice just because it's funny. But,
that's it. But
I'm gonna go with B Writer.
We could still go Bangkok. We could just throw B Rider in as the opposite.
I think we got to stick with, we got to go one. Is it going with the Florida State fan? Going with Bangkok Vice?
Sorry, I tried to show you a lifeline, brother.
It's locked in.
You wrote it, Bill?
I already wrote it in, yeah.
All right, and you complained about your fancy
it's on the holy paper.
Sorry,
holy
Bangkok
paper.
Vice. I mean, I thought it was great, but not time. Also, important update. Very important update from the predictions. Bagging Up has gone Canes, which means continued undefeated streak on the line for both Bagging Up and Billin' Up, picking the Canes in prediction time. They have never lost, and as far back as I can remember, which is like 2 months, they have never lost with both of them have picked the Canes. So what an opportunity for Miami to stand up on top of 2 giants, the shoulders of 2 giants, and pull this one out and stay consistently undefeated there. What else? Other people throwing stuff in. B Writers threatening to return. Good. Jacoby Brad.
Mortgaging properties like Monopoly.
Just flipping the houses all over the place.
Yeah, man. Breaking down. Started with a hotel. Now he had 4 houses, 2 houses, 1 house, man. Now the only thing you got is Baltic Ave.
All right.
It's that time.
Crazy predictions. Maybe the most fun part of it. Throw your crazy predictions out there.
I'll go first because I've had this locked in all day. So I predicted 27-24. This will be known as wide left 2.
Oh, you think they missed the opportunity to tie it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Wide left 2. Steve, what do you got?
Definitely not something like that. I've been thinking all day, on and off, what I was gonna do about it. When it came
Steve,
to
you haven't been thinking about this all day, I mean.
Nah. To be honest with you, I've thought about it twice.
Okay, Bill. I believe Bill has. I don't believe you.
I've definitely thought about it twice because I was gonna go in the mod mode and interception. I'm definitely going to. You know what? It's just too specific. I'm gonna go a D-line interception. I think we get our mitts on some of those footballs from Castellano, so I'm gonna go a D-line interception.
D-line interception.
I mean,
there's one in the chat that I'm going to go with. It's not actually a prediction, I don't think, but I'm going to count it like one because it really solves 2 stones here. Here, B Savage said, let M. Tommy throw a few passes this year, so that could count as one. Johnny Lagoon is a dicey one that I don't know if I could post, but it's funny. Beck which I was gonna go Beck catches the Philly special from Tony. That was gonna be the answer, but
yeah, imagine if anybody else throws that. That'd be terrible. Mark Fletcher hits you.
I actually thought of that today. That was like my second one was Beck would catch a touchdown pass. I wasn't gonna go specific, but
Ward did it last year.
that's out there.
it was gonna be that one. But then I saw Bangkok Vice said Bane's gonna kick their horse's ass too. So Ruben Bain fighting, what's the horse's name? Renegade. Ruben Bain punching Renegade or physically kicking.
Do that. We're gonna have animal activists in our comments like quick.
I'm not saying to do it. He's making a prediction. That's
just real quick.
Fighting a horse.
Derek Cooper's not visiting anymore. Texas shut that down.
Oh, did he predict it?
I mean,
Gonna be in Cali. Hooked on that war chant.
That means they're worried. I mean, he finds they can't control when he goes over to Hard Rock. I mean, he lives there. But, they're involved with him in Florida State. I mean, that was a free visit for Miami, and Texas knows that. B-Rider knows that.
B-Rider says leave the horse alone. Ahmad Moten riding the horse. All right, so if we're not going to go with physically fighting a horse, then I think we got to go this Philly special with CF Kane fan. Because it does offer the possibility of anyone else throwing it, and that is hilarious. So just CF Kane fan, like, we got it. Like, nope. Hold on. That was Keelan Marion that threw that, actually.
Exactly. CJ Daniels at his first career touchdown pass.
All right. What can I do?
What's up, Mr. Wiley?
Can we do?
You still thinking about this, Chris?
I don't take this lightly, Steve. Nor do I prep at all. So it all happens right now. I'm doing all the math, coming through all the possibilities. I'm gonna do a strip sack, fumble recovery by the guy that gets the strip sack, runs it himself for a touchdown.
All right, so fourth fumble recovery, fumble return for touchdown, all same player.
All same player. I'm not going to say a player.
It has to be a strip sack, though?
I mean, I think any sack where there is a fumble caused counts as a strip sack. I don't think it has to be like a LT, bring the hammer down.
I'm saying, like, if DB strips a receiver downfield and houses it, that doesn't count.
No, it's on the quarterback.
Forced fumble, quarterback, touchdown, same player.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Johnny Lagoon. I will happily take that. Happily take that. Seal the 3-score win. I like it. Tron Matthews style. Exactly, Johnny. You see where my head's going. Except I'm thinking it's either going to be a DB coming off the edge like a madman or a big man who's right in the end zone and just lays on it.
You got some options there. You got
I'm really thinking Lightfoot. Like, in my mind, it's going to be Lightfoot catching Castellanos when, like, kind of rolling out, and him not realizing Lightfoot's just behind him, just kind of like bang.
Yeah, but it's crazy. We have options. It could be Lightfoot, it could be Bane, it could be Nezzy. You have Justin Scott on the interior, Moten on the interior, who can make those type of plays. I believe Moten has an interception already in his career.
Yeah, so we got options.
Yeah, so we got some playmakers at the D line.
All right, here before we get out of here, the one more thing that had to be discussed here as CF Kane fan. I asked in the chat if am I allowed to talk about it freely, and I believe you guys both have kind of passively agreed to. These are the worst uniforms that Miami will ever wear in the history of their program. These are horrifically bad uniforms to wear. All due respect to the military. All due respect. I feel like we are disrespecting the military by wearing these ugly uniforms. I gotta be honest. Like, not horrible. No Miami in them at all. That's what I hate when you wear like alternate uniforms that don't at all relate to your team. That's an abomination to me personally. So
I'm
you
going to
could've
be
done a lot.
100% honest. When you texted that, I quickly looked at it. I assumed that was a baseball jersey. And I was like, why are you getting so fired up about a baseball jersey? I didn't even read it. I just looked at it.
Steve, you made a rational point to me earlier. I think you might be making the point again here, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, are they the most appealing jerseys on first look? Probably not. But when you throw that, it's black letters, black, black ACC, black Adidas. So they're probably gonna wear black pants, black helmet. Maybe that camo U. I don't like messing with the U, to be honest. But depending on how the cleats and gloves work out, I'm a swing state. I have a lot of family with military backgrounds. I'm pretty sure, a bunch of people know, Rasta and a bunch of the Canes, Canes Chief, a bunch of Canes fans that are, veterans. So I'm glad they're having their moments. I'm not going to talk crazy about the uniform. Am I going to be asking them to bring it back? Do I think the 2015 ones we rocked versus Virginia were better? Yeah, for sure. They were more just the cleats, the gloves, and the socks that we rocked. And I thought those were fine. However, I'm waiting to see how the cleats and gloves work out. Maybe that black with, black top, black pants, some camo gloves and, cleats going on. Some hopefully black camo, not like the same camo at the top, but you know what I'm saying? It's like some black camo. So the jury's still out. How do they swag us out with the accessories? It don't look good right there. But, it could look good on game day, man. It could look real good on game day. I'm happy that we're just not wearing, would I have taken green over white? Yeah. or something like that. Yeah. But, hey, we're wearing something different. Just kudos to everybody in the military. I'm not going to make it bigger than what it is. But, yeah, not first take, doesn't look the best.
What I would have done, I would have kept our number font, or done the, the Miami, the Nike number font, that number font, right? So that's got a Miami swagger to it, because we know that's the Canes. I know it's not the official military number font, not that I think it is, right? I would have kept the number font, right? And I would have kept the jersey green, and then go on the numbers kind of like a digital camo, just on the numbers, right? Jersey cream, and then an olive black, whatever, digital camo, whatever you want to do, or black numbers.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, I feel you, Chris. I'm on the board with you. I think they could have touched it a little bit more. But a little less is more, in my opinion, with that camo.
Yeah, for sure. And then you could have played with it. You could have done the black helmet, and we could have done the helmet like you did.
They're most likely doing the black helmet for sure. I mean, the numbers are black. Everything, the stitching is black. The ACC emblem is black. Everything is black. I can't see them putting the white helmet over top of that. It just would look hideous.
Black helmet with the camo U.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to be camo U, but maybe black helmet with a charcoal with camo inside. I don't know. But I wouldn't mind the camo U, as long as some cleats and gloves go with it. But I would have definitely went black based camo numbers, or at least camo numbers with black accent, with it, and then maybe on the sleeves, go ahead and just go full camo.
Yeah,
on the sleeves. That way it could make it'll pop with the gloves and cleats if it happens to have something that matches that. So I would have probably went that direction with the camo U. I think that would have been doing less is more, and that would have just looked way better. However, this is what we got. And I'm not mad at Adidas. They just upped our bag again by paying Penn State all that money and Tennessee all that money, and we're contractually obligated to be their highest paying school. So I'm really not mad at Adidas right now. They're paying for NIL for our players. All right, this ain't their best jersey, but whatever, bro. We'll take that check.
You could have done something like with those that 1 year Nike uni, like that everything else. It had the green sleeves for everything. But then, like you said, do the camo sleeves, black numbers. This could have been like more like an, I don't know, something. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're in it now, so it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. Winning, we're in it. We're playing Stanford. You know, it's a prestigious school. You know, if contrary to popular belief, you know, there's a lot of doctors in the military. People always think about people who are, shooting and going off to war. But there's a big part of the military that, people are making sure those people come back home and, live. So, probably a good game to do a military appreciation for. And we'll just see how it goes. I'm just hoping it grows on you and maybe like the combinations save it. They had the little video as well, with Emory Williams, talking about what it means for him to rock that jersey with his father and stuff like that. So there's plenty of Canes fans and just Canes players that had these connections. So I'm all right with it. Let's just get it done. If you win in that, you'll never have to see it again. And if you lose in that, you'll definitely never see it again.
Maybe see pictures of it ever again. So, all right. Well, we'll deal with that when we get there. But that'll do it for us. It's a big week, fans. I'm excited for you guys to be a part of this thing. Hopefully we come back next week talking about another Miami victory. Before we get out of here, Bill, final thoughts for the people.
Yeah, it feels like an old school Miami, Florida State week. I don't know if we really even had one of those in the last 10 or 15 years, because one of us has always sucked. So it feels like I'm 12 years old again, just getting ready, just plop on the couch and, watch two ranked Florida teams go at it. So I'm here for it.
All right, Steve-O, final thoughts for the people.
Stay safe. You're making the trip up to Tally. Don't rock that white tee, man. But on a serious note, be careful, everybody. Enjoy. Show your loved ones some love. And yeah, it's gonna be a good one. 7:30. Obviously, we know College Game Day is not gonna be there now. They're gonna be up there in Vanderbilt. So it's okay. Let's just go watch some good games during the day if you're not going up there, and then go out there and handle business up there in Hard Rock North.
That's what I gotta do. Hey, you have opportunity to go keep this thing rolling and go half the season being undefeated and secure that top 3 ranking in the country. It's a pretty good deal. Big opportunity on Mario and the Miami Hurricanes' hands this weekend up in Tallahassee, 7:30, prime time for the 100th time this year. So thank you guys for tuning into the show. We appreciate you guys. Thanks everybody at CanesInSight for allowing us to do this. We'll see you again next week right here on 3 Live Canes.
This is for the national championship for Nebraska. He's a stud, that Brown, number 98.
Urban's got it. Urban's free.
Slips to the outside, tries to stiff arm, but he couldn't get by Ray Lewis.
Big time players. Step up in big games.